And it is our pleasure to welcome in the head football coach at The Ohio State University, Ryan Day. Good enough to join us here as he gets set to travel, getting his shot all set as he's on his way to Big Ten Media Days. Good to see you, Coach, as always. And I want to start with this. As you know, I'm a Big Ten alum. It is hard for me to wrap my head around the new reality of the conference with the new additions of the schools from out west and no divisions and everything else that has changed. How would you describe the change in this conference just from last season to this one?
I think the first thing is, the teams that have been in the Big Ten have gotten stronger year in and year out. I think that the recruiting is still at an all-time high. Every time you're getting a win in the Big Ten, it's a win that matters. The physicality of the Big Ten is as strong as it's ever been. Now you add in four teams from out west that have great backgrounds. They've done very, very well, and we're excited to add them into the conference. I think that now when you look at the 18 teams that are in the Big Ten, it's going to be a battle week in and week out.
No divisions, so that's something entirely new. That the conference championship game will come down to the first and second place teams in the conference. Does that impact in any way the way you approach the season or approach any games?
It doesn't change how we approach things, but it does change the dynamic of the season for sure. We're not going to change how we do things, certainly with the playoffs and with the change here, but it is going to look different. When you look at how the season is going to play out, how the postseason is going to play out, that is going to be different. But it isn't going to change how we do things. We're going to take every game as it comes, just like everybody else across the country. We're going to have a great preseason, and we're going to try to win every game we play. But we also know, as I think every coach in America is trying to figure out what that looks like as we head into December and January for our team. As we're going to be playing more games than we ever have before.
And also the stakes being different now, the way these things get selected, the 12-team playoff, another new facet. Again, I've said that we've never seen a sport undergo more change in one offseason than college football has undergone this season. So the same question about the 12-team playoff. How does that impact anything in your approach to a season?
Well, I think you have to build it the right way. And year in and year out, when you're in a place like Ohio State, I think the first thing that comes up is the end of the season, is the playoffs. What does that look like? But the truth is, you got to rebuild every single season. You got to build now in the summer. You got to build as the season goes on. You got to build depth as the season goes on. You got to build an identity. And then by the end of the season, the goal is to be playing your best football. I think when you look at the teams in the NFL, that's really what's happened. They find their identity there September and October, and then they're looking to play their best football in November and December. Well, I don't think that's going to be any different now. I guess the only difference is that you're going to see more teams in the playoffs make the playoffs, and so now it's more and more important to be playing your best football at the end of the season.
And coaches like you always plan for every contingency, and I saw that Dabo Swinney was talking the other day about how you will handle late season games, like living in a world where you have clinched a berth kind of thing, and now you've got late season games. And in the NFL, sometimes they will rest their star players to make sure there are no injuries. What thought, if any, have you given to that possibility and how you would handle it?
Well, as you look at the end of our season, I think with the games that you see at the end of our season, I think when you look at the opportunity to get into a bye situation, I think when you look at the Big Ten championship game, you can't take any of those games off. And I think having a first-round bye is very, very important. So, I don't know if we're going to be in a situation where that would come up based on the way that our schedule plays out. But I do think that we're going to be experiencing some new things in college football this season.
Well, one of the new things that you have on your program is Chip Kelly, a legendary offensive coach on your staff. What should we expect this offense to look like this year, Coach?
Well, hopefully we're scoring points. And that's why we brought him in. But I think the thing for me is that I've had a great background with Chip. He and I have been friends for a long time. He was a mentor to me growing up, and certainly have learned a lot from him and the way that he approached things, and his ability to just focus on the offense, calling plays, is, I think, exciting for all of us, including him. And it's been great to work together. It's going to be exciting to collaborate this season and see where this season takes us.
And one final thing, we can't finish without asking about Michigan, and we know that that hasn't gone the way you would have liked the last 3 years. How would you describe the way the pressure to win that game feels for a person who sits in your seat?
Well, it doesn't change year in and year out. I mean, that's something that we all know, and we certainly don't, take very lightly. I mean, it's something we live day in and day out, and I think probably one of the biggest, struggles that we have is that when you lose a game like that, you have to wait a whole another year to get back into that game, and for our guys who decided to come back, we had about 12 guys that made the decision to come back. That was one of the big reasons why they decided to come back. But what we have to do is build every day and grow every day and count on the work that we're doing on a daily basis that's going to matter as we get to the end of the season. And, what we can't do is get too far ahead of ourselves and start to focus too much on that and get distracted. That's just the bottom line. But when you come to Ohio State, you got to win that game.
Coach, I know you were doing this literally from an airport getting set to fly to media days, so we very much appreciate you taking the time to do this. Enjoy the day, enjoy the week. Best of luck as your season gets started, and we'll see you down the road. Thank you, Coach.